2017 MacBook Pro 13-inch 3 days later coming up right now. Let's go. So, what is up guys? Nick here helping you to master your technology, and welcome to the MacBook Pro 2017 3 days later. So I traded my iPad Pro 10.5 to Apple and I exchanged it for a MacBook Pro 13-inch because I have a 9.7 iPad and the MacBook Pro is the better travel companion for me. But in this video, I want to share with you how this has been over the past 3 days for me. So essentially, this is the same design as the 2016 model, but let's begin with durability. So this has got to be one of the most durable laptops that money can buy. And in the past 3 days, it's been very durable. But one thing I do want to mention is that because it's so durable, it's also kind of delicate and it feels like you don't really want to scratch it. So I've been looking to get a skin or like a case for this thing. So this thing is very durable. It does pick up fingerprints on this aluminum body. Just keep that in mind. They're not very easy to see, but it does pick up fingerprints here on the body. But overall, extremely durable. Keys feel solid. The whole machine is made out of aluminum. Trackpad feels extremely solid, and the screen feels solid as well. So overall, I really love the design here on the 2017 MacBook Pro. It's been pretty great for me. So speaking of design a little bit more, so this guy does definitely give you the butterfly switches on the keyboard. If you can see right here, I'm going to zoom in just a little bit. They're a lot flatter and they don't have as much key travel as, prior MacBooks with like the 2015 15-inch as well as the 2015 13-inch Retina that had the longer travel keys. These butterfly switches are definitely flatter, but I actually type a little bit quicker on these in my use case. So in terms of these keys, they're pretty decent. I think you're going to like them once you get used to them. At first, they're going to feel like a little bit flat, but I do have to say my fingers do hurt a little bit more typing on these after a while because of the flat nature. It just hurts the finger a little bit more over long typing sessions, but it's not a big deal. The keyboard has been great. In other aspects of design, it takes away the light up Apple logo. And in the past 3 days, I've actually not mind that. I feel like for some reason in my mind that this Apple lit up logo and the prior MacBooks had a little effect on battery life. I'm not sure if it did, but it seems like it might. It's got to use the battery to light it up, doesn't it? So over here on this 2017 MacBook, the Apple logo looks a lot more similar to what you see on an iPhone or an iPad, making their devices a lot more in sync if you ask me. So another aspect of design is that Apple decided to go with less ports here on the 2017 MacBook. We have a 3.5mm headset jack there. If I go on this side, you can see USB-C ports, 2 USB-C ports. This is the cheapest end model. This is the 128 gigabyte model. I did not need that much power or storage because I do everything on external drives. And if you guys want to know how to save the most space on a smaller MacBook, let me know. But overall, this design is clean, svelte, and it's very, very classy. Probably industrial design, the best industrial design on the market, if you ask me. Everything just works. Perfectly balanced. If you watch that lid, the MacBook does not slide at all. You can totally just lift the screen up like so, and you are presented with an amazing Retina display. So let's talk a little bit more about that Retina display. So my experience in the past 3 days with this Retina display here on the 13-inch 2017 MacBook Pro has been quite phenomenal. It's not quite as great as the 120 Hz display found on the iPad Pro 2017, but it's definitely very smooth and it gets very bright, especially if you turn off automatic brightness. This thing goes all the way up to about 500 nits. So it's a very, very bright display here for a computer, and this looks extremely sharp. It falls in line with other Retina displays across the Apple lineup, but it just looks really good to see it across this expansive area right here. So I think you guys are definitely going to enjoy this Retina display here, and in my past 3 days, it's been absolutely phenomenal. I couldn't ask for more. Alright guys, so I actually did decide to pick up the non-touch bar edition of the MacBook Pro, as you can see right here. And I did that for an intentional reason. It's not just because I wanted to go with the lowest end MacBook, although that did play into my decision, but it's because I just do not care about a touch bar. That thing actually is not most practical to me, and that's because your muscle memory will just remember where these keys are. Now, if you have the touch bar, you load something up, you forget what was up there, you might hit an emoji instead of remembering that you didn't have mission control and all these other function keys lined up on the touch bar. So I don't say that the touch bar is an issue. I think it's definitely great for future proof, but this is not my only computer, and I'm not going to be keeping this computer forever. I'll probably sell this soon, like in a couple of years, and get the touch bar edition because I think Apple will phase it out. But for now, I still like my traditional old keys here on the MacBook, and these are pretty nice here, and they're very, very slim and slender here on this MacBook. So pretty great stuff here for this 13-inch. So overall, I've been enjoying the fact that I actually don't have a touch bar on my MacBook. So discussing battery life in the past 3 days with this MacBook Pro, I've noticed that, just like a lot of other computers, it depends on your usage. I find this thing to easily go a full day if I'm not doing heavy stuff. I started doing video editing and all kinds of transferring of photos, doing some Photoshop based things, and this thing was just sucking battery like no tomorrow when I started doing that. So heavy stuff, this is not getting you through the day. So keep your charger handy, that USB-C charger that Apple does include now in the box. Keep this handy if you are going to be doing the Photoshop, video editing, stuff like that. But if you're just taking notes, you're in class, stuff like that, this thing will easily go a day. You're going to have just great battery life here on this MacBook Pro. So overall, I call it pretty solid. It's not the best in the industry. I'm sure the Dell XPS 13 has better battery life than this, but this guy right here is solid nonetheless. So what about the whole Mac OS debate here? So in the past 3 days, using Mac OS on this portable light computer has been absolutely enjoyable. And I don't just want to say that, with no detail to it. I want to tell you my honest details. Why? Now, when you take something on the go, say you're biking, say you're traveling, you're on an airplane, you're on a bus, or whatever, you just want to get into the computer and do your thing. You don't really want to be hassling around with all kinds of updates and all these extra things. And the Mac just works out of the box. So this is a great travel computer for business people or people that just do not want the hassle of updates, a long boot up time, a lot of other things that come along sometimes, not always, with the Windows ecosystem. Now, this is not no Windows Mac PC video, so I'm not going to get into that debate too much. But I can just tell you this thing is pretty much leading the industry in terms of just works out of the box type of computer. It just does. It's a very good experience. Things are very well optimized. iMovie is a stunner. I mean, iMovie, I know a lot of people don't like it as much. I am going to be upgrading myself to Final Cut X, but iMovie just rendered myself a 10-minute video clip in 6 minutes. I mean, this is the 8 gig of RAM version too. This is the lowest end MacBook, and it did a 10-minute 1080p 60 frames per second video in 6 minutes. I will take that 7 days out of 7 days out of the week, and I've been enjoying that. In terms of the other things, I like these, other features like app expose, as well as, the 3-finger gestures, the 5-finger gestures. And speaking of the gestures, if you take a look at that trackpad, this thing is so large, it easily can handle people with big hands like me. So definitely I have been enjoying this as well. So if you guys want to get a laptop and you don't want to use a mouse, you look no further than the MacBook Pro. This thing is huge and it's definitely very responsive, and it feels a lot like the force click button on the iPhone 7 Plus and the 7. So overall, macOS has been great, macOS Sierra here, and I'm looking forward to seeing High Sierra later this fall. So I wanted to talk a little bit on this MacBook about performance, and performance on this thing has been pretty great. It's not as powerful as my i7 15-inch MacBook, which I use for heavy 4K stuff, but this thing is definitely good enough to get the job done. I mean, its bench is higher than the iPad Pro, which is supposed to be replacing laptops, so still not quite as good as the MacBook Pro, but performance overall has just been pretty great here on the MacBook. I mean, very smooth scrolling. You go ahead and do anything here. You can have multiple tabs open. You could have iMovie in the background, Photoshop in the background, and still do some other things here on your MacBook. You're going to be just fine here with the MacBook. So definitely loving the performance here. Even though I only have the 8 gig of RAM, 128 gig version baseline configuration, it still performs really well. I mean, I think the only people who are going to need that extra power is going to be people that are, into heavy, programs that are going to require that type of power, such as music software, and, professional video editing, except if you're using Final Cut. Like if you're trying to use Adobe Premiere, you might need the extra power. Also, if you're going to be storing large files on here, you might need extra power, but this baseline configuration is extremely quick and performance has been top notch in my past 3 days. About that dongle life on the MacBook Pro 2017, yes, I did have to go pick up the Saki Tech adapter here. It goes right into the MacBook matches the color of it. I really like this little adapter, and this is not really a problem to me. As long as I got my ports, I don't care how I get it in there. I found the solution, and if you guys want to pick this guy up, you can go ahead. Also, you can just get a a USB-C to USB here adapter. I'll leave both of these adapters down below in the description. If you have a 2016, it'll work as well, or USB-C computers in general, these adapters will work. But this guy, you're going to need another adapter for whatever you're using. So I kind of already have a USB adapter. So if you already have like an adapter that doesn't go into USB-C but goes into a USB 3.0 port like this, then you could just use that USB 3.0 port you have and plug it into this USB 3.0 to USB-C. Now it really depends. This thing sometimes becomes a problem because it hangs off the computer. Sometimes it gets a little wiggly and things are an issue. But overall, I was able to transport files onto the external drive. Definitely work fine. So these products, yeah, they can be a little annoying that you got to carry them around, but these aren't like that little tiny headphone dongle for the iPhone 7. At least you see these things. These are big. You're not going to lose these too easily. So I would just say throw them in your little external hard drive bag or something like that, and you'll be good to go. So it's definitely dongle life here on 2017 MacBook Pro, and to me in the past 3 days, not an issue at all. It's going to be an excellent product. The main thing that really helps this computer overall has been the KB Lake CPUs. I want to make sure I mention those here. The KB Lake architecture is definitely a little bit better than the 2016. Is it an upgrade over it? Yes. Do you have to go buy this if you have a 2016? No. But if you have anything less than a 2016 MacBook, you're going to really like this update. It's a solid update, and I don't think they're going to change the design too much for at least another 2 to 3 years on the MacBooks. Anyway, Nick here helping you to master your technology. If you enjoyed this video, click the like button for me, post your comments, feedback, suggestions below. I will catch you all in the next one, and peace.